One of the things that when I try and put together like screencast tutorials is I always want to jump straight into doing the screencast like right away. And then like halfway through, I'm like, wait, I'm totally lost. Do you spend a lot of time scripting things out before you start recording?
I have to because I'm terrible on the fly. And so if I have to kind of 100% script things, which takes a lot longer on the prep side, but it makes the finished product a lot cleaner.
Hey y'all, it's Roger with Kinsta. Today I'm joined by my good friend Carrie. Hey Carrie, how are you?
Good, how's it going?
It's going really great. The last time we talked was before WordCamp US, I believe, right?
Yeah, a couple months ago, or maybe a few months ago. Time's kind of flying.
It's been a little bit of time. Hey, so I want to learn about what you've been up to, but before then, I'm really curious to learn more about Carrie Dils and how you came to become a WordPress expert. So where did it start? How did you get into the internet?
Well, I was a nerd from a very young age and started building websites in the mid-90s when I was in college. I just basic HTML, a little bit of what was ASP and before ASP.NET and then PHP. And I took a break from tech and went and worked in retail for nearly a decade. But at the end of that, I started getting back into web development because I figured out it just paid a whole lot better. And my manager at the time told me about WordPress. He was working with WordPress and he was like, this thing, like it's a content management system out of the box. You just install. You've got login, you've got validation, you've got ability to create and store content and retrieve it, et cetera, et cetera. Having built those sorts of things by hand before, I was just amazed that there was a product that did it out of the box. So that kind of started my journey, and that was early, 2011.
Okay, all right. So we've got custom post types and pages. It's a real CMS at this point. Were you building in the raw, or were you using a page builder of any sort?
I probably tried everything under the sun when I first started because you know what I mean? You don't really know just getting used to the software and then what each different kind of theme or thing brings to the table. And I ended up landing on Genesis framework pretty early on. It appealed to my developer side because it made it easy to manipulate what was going on with core WordPress, but it also had enough like prettiness to it that it made it delightful to work with from the front end. So that's the one I mostly settled on.
Okay. And are you still a
Not really. I have some older sites that are still on Genesis, but as WordPress has moved more full tilt into the block editor and full site editing, while Genesis supported the block editor, it really wasn't built for that world. So I've kind of abandoned it in favor of some other tools.
Understood. So backing up a second, what did you study in college?
Nothing relevant. My degree is in criminal justice. But to bring it full circle, the first website I built was for my criminal justice department at my college. It's like I married the two early on.
Yeah, you got to close that up, get the satisfaction of that degree. That's excellent.
Right.
That's excellent. How would you say that your retail experience has informed your work as a website developer?
That's a really great question. I think in a retail environment, the focus on customer service was a great lead-in to managing clients and expectations and doing it in a positive way, but also setting a tone for just structure and communication. So I think that was probably the most direct tie-in.
Yeah, I think learning to tell the customer that they're stupid or learning to not say that to their face anyway is definitely a skill I picked up from some of my different retail work for sure.
You've been there.
Oh yeah. So you mentioned full site editing. That is the soup du jour, if you will. What's your take? What themes are you using and how's it working out for you?
Well, I will say that I'm still living in what I would call hybrid theme land. Most of the projects I work on have had too many moving parts that just the full site editor has not been ready for. I think it's moving towards that. I'm seeing some more interesting and complex builds that other people are doing using FSC, but I have it partly learning curve and partly just not being confident that it can tackle everything a complex project needs. I've stayed kind of in the realm of hybrid, but the block editor itself, I am a huge fan of. If I go back and work on an older site that's still running the classic editor, I'm like, what is this? But the new 2025 theme, have you seen it?
No, I've heard about it, and I'm interested to start poking around with it. What are your thoughts?
It's really beautifully done. Sometimes I find with those 2020 themes that they're showcasing whatever's new and great in WordPress, but they're not necessarily the most practical. Like, oh, I'm not going to use this for my small business website or for my, whatever XYZ site. And this one, I think the patterns that are included and some of the color options right out of the box, it's really kind of an elegant theme that I think has more kind of immediately practical use than some of the others.
Excellent. That's great to hear. I did hear Brian Combs and Matt Medeiros were talking about it, and there was something about some of the patterns are kind of hidden or difficult to get to. So I don't know if that's something that you've come across yet.
Okay. Well, I confess I haven't installed it and fully played around yet, so I'm not sure. But that seems interesting that they wouldn't be surfaced in the regular way through the pattern finder.
Yeah, it sounded a little curious. I need to go and poke around a little bit and kind of see what's going on. So switching gears again, there is one thing that I've noticed in your career trajectory is you seem to be more into the learning and teaching track now. You've got a number of LinkedIn courses out there. What prompted the shift into doing more work like that?
So when I entered into the WordPress part of my career, I started a blog, as one does, and just started blogging what I was learning. So it ended up being a lot of tutorial style content. And I got really great feedback from that. And somewhere along the way, I learned that I don't know, either I have a knack for it or I just maybe more so just enjoy it. The LinkedIn learning thing is sort of a full circle thing. When I was starting to learn WordPress, my dad bought me a subscription for either my birthday or Christmas. And I went and I learned WordPress from then WordPress instructor, Morten Rain Hendrickson.
Yep.
And some years later, I ended up coming and teaching on that same platform and teaching WordPress. So it was like, how cool. I learned it and now I'm teaching it all in the same space.
Excellent.
Yeah, so actually after WordCamp US, I hopped on a plane and flew directly down to Southern California where LinkedIn Learning has a campus where they do all the course recordings. Yeah, just got finished wrapping up a couple.
Nice. What, how do you approach creating a tutorial and a lesson plan like that? It's a huge question, but when you're given a task like that, what are kind of some of the first steps you start doing to break it into different tasks or parts?
Yeah, good question. I think it's not unlike telling a story. Like you figure out what the end is or what the end result is or what a person should be able to do after they consume that content, and then kind of work backwards from there to plan out, okay, well, what are the high level topics that we would need, milestones that we would need to reach that end goal, and then breaking down those high level milestones into smaller chunks, kind of fleshing those out as you go.
One of the things that when I try and put together like screencast tutorials is I always want to jump straight into doing the screencast like right away, and then like halfway through I'm like, wait, I'm totally lost. Do you spend a lot of time scripting things out before you start recording?
I have to, because I'm terrible on the fly. I'm terrible. I will uhs and ums and like vocal stutters, and my mouse is all over the screen, and so if I have to have kind of 100% script things, which takes a lot longer on the prep side, but it makes the finished product a lot cleaner. So it kind of depends on what the purpose of it is. If it's just a quick and dirty, here's a little YouTube showing you how to do something, then I'm not going to worry over much about it. But if it's something I'm more concerned about having a nicer production value on it, then taking the time to script is beneficial.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. As we wrap up 2024, what are like one or three things that you're most excited about in 2025?
Oh gosh. Well, without getting too much into all the news of the day, I'm honestly kind of excited just to see where things go. I think we'll see some hopefully much needed change, and I'm not sure what that looks like, but excited to kind of stay tuned for that.
Sure.
And then personally, just kind of looking forward to some travel and mapping out some places to explore.
Very cool. Any big WordCamp events that you're planning on attending next year?
I haven't even looked at the 2025 calendar yet. I think the fall or, leading after WordCamp US has just kind of been a snowball of activity. And I'm just kind of laying low and trying to figure out when I can catch my breath and start getting back to some events.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Carrie, I appreciate your time and talking to you as always. If people are interested in reaching out to you, what's the best way to get in touch?
I'm Cdils, CDILS on Twitter or Blue Sky, or you can find me on LinkedIn at Carrie Dils. I'm all there, so just say hi. I would love to hear from you.
Excellent, excellent. Carrie, thanks again as always, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Roger. Cheers.